Hi, my name is Bernita. I'm a Daytona State occupational therapy student. This video is in regards to Amy's IEP evaluation. Um, I'm making this video to show the importance of occupational therapy and certain activities that an OT or an OTA, a therapist assistant, can do with Amy to target some of her problem areas. So I'm going to start by taking you through her IEP to show you the different problem areas that she's currently having. Let me figure out how to share my screen. Alright. So this is Amy's IEP that I wrote a few notes on. A few of her problem areas that we see are here. So I'll show you what it means for like what it's meant for the points. But pretty much her problem areas are her gross motor, fine motor, visual motor, and sensory processing. These are the ones that she scored poorly on or not so well on. Anything other than a 1 is not independent, so it's requiring some need of assistance. So, for example, personal care, she scored a 1, and I consider that any 1 to be independent. Anything listed as a 2 would be minimal assist, 3 moderate assistance, and 4 requiring maximal assistance. So for personal care, she demonstrates adequate dressing and undressing hygiene, self-feeding skills without the use or need of equipment or devices. And then if you read on, you'll see that as you go up, it starts to require a little bit more assistance until you get to like 4, and then you realize that that's, student requires intensive training by the therapist. So it gets kind of worse as you go up. The amount of assistance needed is a lot more compared to a 4 than it is at a 1. So for personal care, she's pretty much independent in that area. For mobility, she's also demonstrating a high level of independence. She is able to, pretty much move around safely and transfer between positions and locations on her own. And then we move down to gross motor. So gross motor is your big body movements. That's, raising your arms, jumping jacks, jumping, running around. That's gross motor. And for gross motor, she scored a number 2. So we're going to say 2 is like minimal assistance. It's not as bad as a 4, but it's not completely independent. So for gross motor, she requires supervision. So she has to be kind of like watched, just in case, she falls or anything like that. Someone has to be watching her as she's like, doing these movements and activities. So let's say if she's doing jumping jacks, this is something that she wouldn't be able to do on her own. Someone would have to be standing close by, watching this, making sure she doesn't fall or anything like that. But she requires supervision. Sometimes she might need some prompts in order to maintain or change positions. An activity that I immediately thought of when I thought about gross motor for her, and I wrote a note down here, is Simon Says. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and we love to play Simon Says, and I thought that game would be, really good for Amy. If we go back up to the first page of her, IEP evaluation, it doesn't list her date of birth, so I really don't know how old she is. So I figured that Simon Says was a good game or activity to do with her, only because Simon Says is so universal. It can be played with, smaller kids. It can be played with, adults. And for Simon Says, it targets so many different areas. It's focusing on gross motor movements, but it also focuses on vestibular and bilateral movement. So vestibular is pretty much like knowing where your body parts are in space. um, Bilateral movements is kind of like using both sides of your body. um, so like if we're telling her, Simon Says to put both hands up in the air and wave them like you just don't care, that's working on bilateral movements. It also targets, crossing the midline, if you want to say that, because you can have Amy, do activities that forces her to cross her midsection. Um, so this game would overall increase, your body awareness. Um, it helps with, following direction, and it can also help with giving directions. So this game could be graded and adapted in so many different ways. Instead of Amy being the participant, she can be the person giving out the direction. She can be Simon. We can have Amy tell us what to do. So as a therapist, if I was with Amy, if she seemed a little, shy, as if she didn't really want to participate in the game, all in the beginning, I would tell her, okay, you be Simon, you tell me what to do and I'll do it. That kind of allows us to break the ice for this game. And something I didn't notice before, but Simon Says the fact that sometimes you have to hold a certain position um, really helps out a lot, because um, this is a way that the therapist can see how she is doing these gross movements and breaking it down, allowing us to see how she goes about, like how long can she hold a certain motion, like how long can she hold her hands above her head, before she starts showing signs of fatigue and getting tired. So that's a really good game that a therapist can do um, to target her gross motor issues. Simon Says also can target, some sensory processing issues that she's also dealing with. The fact that it incorporates a lot of vestibular movements and motions, like knowing where your body is in space. That's more sensory, you know, closing your eyes and just being able to know that your hands are above your head. you know. Um, this game also would help with concentration, because you have to remember as a participant that you only do the activities that Simon says. Just putting your hands above your head, Simon didn't say put your hands above your head. So it really it causes the player to really focus on, following directions and things like that. So, and concentrating. So that's the activity that I would do to target her gross motor um, deficits that she's having. And for fine motor, visual motor, and sensory processing, I'm grouping all of those together. Although she scored differently on each, so for fine motor and visual motor, she scored a 3, was just pretty much moderate assistance. And for sensory processing, she scored a 2. So a few games that I thought of were, like visual scanning activities. So that can be, I Spy. A game that I like to play. It's a card game. It's called Spot It, and I'll show you more about that game a little bit later. Like crossword puzzles, and for all of these games, especially for like the crossword puzzles and I Spy, these are stuff that can be easily graded and adapted to match, to pretty much meet Amy on her level. As mentioned before, we don't know how old she is. Playing a crossword puzzle for a 4-year-old, like a visual scanning activity for a 4-year-old would be significantly different from a client that's like 15 years old, you know. So for a crossword puzzle or like a visual scanning activity for someone younger, it can be of like pictures of like animals and pictures of things that they would know how to identify. So it can be like animals, everyday little items like a toothbrush or a dress, articles of clothing you can use for that. We can make it more educational based. So it can be like there's sight words they can use for the crossword puzzle. If they're younger, you can do a crossword puzzle to find all of the different animals or pictures that begin with a certain letter sound. So we're working on L as a letter for the week during class with her teacher. We can incorporate that in our activity when we are doing therapy, especially for a school-based client. So if Amy's class is learning about L while they're, in class, we can have a crossword puzzle or a picture that activity that has like different type of letters, pictures on it, like love or I don't know, different pictures that starts with the letter L. So if we can, I can't think of anything that starts with L right now. I don't know, but like A, you can have a picture of an apple, you can have a picture of a monkey, you can have a picture of an acorn, and then tell Amy, pick out which one starts with the letter A. So she would then cross out the monkey because that doesn't start with the letter A, and then circle the apple and the acorn because those are pictures that are relevant to the letter of the week that they're learning about. So the game Spotted, and I'll turn my camera around in just a second. But the game Spotted and I Spy, these are visual scanning activities. This works and helps on visual perception. It also helps with speech, language, and some fine motor into it too for the Spotted game, the card game. But visual perception, being able to, play a game of I Spy and spotting something in the room that matches the person's description, that can be graded. I spy something red can be changed to I spy something soft and squishy. We can talk about textures. We can talk about sounds, textures and sound. We can talk about sounds. I spy something really loud. I spy something that smells stinky. So in my house right now, we have a newborn baby that's only 2 weeks old. If I'm playing this with my daughter, I can tell her I spy something really stinky. That can be like the trash can, or that can be like the baby stinky diaper. I spy something rough for textures and touch. Instead of the soft comforter on the bed, I can be talking about something more hard in texture. So that's for the I Spy. And then for the Spotted is a card game. The cards vary in different sizes and different sizes. You can get like the bigger cards, you can get the little small cards. I have the small cards in my possession right now. So I'll go back to my screen. So this is the game Spotted. It comes in a tin container. I'm trying to open it. So hard. Oh, there it is. Alright. So it comes in a tin container. First thing you see when you open it is like the instructions and how to play, and it gives you several different ways of how to play, up to 5 different ways of how to play and instructions on how to do so. and also gives you a short little key of examples of the items that you'll see on the cards and their names. So this symbol here is for a cat, that symbol will be for a dog, that for a lock, that one's a ladybug. So that's that. I don't know if the focus is better. So this is an example of a set of the cards. There's always a match on each card. There are 55 cards, 5 different ways to play, for 2 to up to 8 players at a time. And it says that the ages are from 6 years and up. But like I told you, I have a 4-year-old. She plays this game just fine. So back to the set, there's always something that matches. Can you point out what you see that matches? Yep, it's the pair of shears, scissors here. And then again. You see it? It's this little sign here. And again. The dolphin, blue dolphin. Do you see what matches? The exclamation point. And I'll let you try. I'll give you a second. Do you see what matches? Did you see it? It's the ghost. Again. It's the sun. So I find this game really fun to play. Although you may know the symbol, but it's another thing to say it under pressure. You know, when you're doing it fast paced, sometimes the name might slip in your mind and you might not be able to come up with the term. Like ladybug, I've forgotten the name ladybug so many times, like the bug, the red one. So it's really fun, and that being forced to have to yell out the name of the item works on, you know, language, the size, like the shape of the cards. Normally cards are squared shape, rectangular shape. The size or the shape of the card, it being like very thin and round, you know, holding it like this just works on a different grip pattern. And this is like occupational therapy language now, but if you're the therapist, you can be looking at the different, you know, grip patterns, telling Amy or the client to hold it in a certain way. Like when you hold the cards, Amy, I want you to hold them like this. This is how you're gonna hold them, you know. Or when you pick up the card, Amy, you have to pick it up like this. You know, working on a certain like pinch grip. You know, there's so many different things that you can do or look at as a therapist when just playing like a simple card game like this. It's very fun for the client, fun for you. It works on visual scanning in an untraditional way. Like normally when we're talking about visual scanning, we're talking about crossword puzzles and we're talking about like games like I Spy, but this is really, really fun. You can speed it up, you can slow it down, you can make it very competitive. You can like have a timer going, you know, to set a time, or you can allow unlimited time. Like you look at it, take as long as you want. You and the client can go over each picture together and look like, okay, let's look at this. Do you see this symbol on that card? No? Okay, we're gonna cross that out. Do you see this symbol on that card? Oh, yep, there it is right here. So There's so many different ways to do it, to play it, to make it work for your age group or for your client. Certain cognitive level and what they can do, and ways for you to gradually see how they get better. Like, you know, out of the 4 times Amy and I played, she identified the item on the card within, 10 seconds, or the first time that we played, it took her a whole 2 minutes to figure out, what's on the card. Instead of playing with the whole deck, you can play with only a small set of cards. You can just play with the same 4 cards over and over again, slowly incorporating more cards each time. So I think Spot It is a really neat game to play. It's really fun. There's so many ways to go about creating and adapting this. So many different things that you can be looking for in this game, from different grips, different handling, to visual scanning, language, being able to say the things on the cards quickly, slowly. It's just a really good tool, and I would definitely, if I'm working in pediatrics and I'm going about, this would be something that I would definitely carry around. It's very small and convenient. It's in this small little case here, if you know how to open it. Fits in your pocket, fits in a small little bag. It's just so many different interventions in one little tin can. So that's that. All right, thank you. Bye.